Hello, it's Foreign News on Clock on All News Nigeria. I am Opeyemi Olubemi. Here are the headlines for today. Iran protests heightens over imminent executions. UK's first satellite launch fails to make it to space. Now the news in details. The first significant protests of the year took place in Iran over the weekend, with reports of gunfire and tear gas in some cities. More than 25 protests across at least 17 cities took place on Sunday, the highest number since 5th of December. The protests and strikes took place as the Iranian people continue to demand large-scale change in the country. Demonstrations began after the death of Mahsa Aminu, who was killed while in detention after police said she was wearing a hijab improperly. Recall that the Taliban had restricted women to a mode of dressing and also banned women from modern education, which sparked various demonstrations in the country. The human rights activist news agency reports that 519 protesters have died since 17 September. The group's figures published on 9th January also report that almost 20,000 people have been arrested and that 111 are under the pending threat of a death sentence. Civil unrest on Sunday was also fueled by anger over the downing of a Ukrainian civilian plane by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps 3 years ago. All 176 people on board died. Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752 was shot down in Tehran on 8th January 2020 by 2 anti-aircraft missiles in what Iran called human error, but families of the victims have labeled a war crime. Iranian forces appeared to expect heightened protest action. 2 protesters were executed on Saturday, potentially foiling the large Sunday protest. Muhammad Mahdi Karami and Sayyid Muhammad Hosseini were killed on Saturday. Iran sentenced them to death for killing a paramilitary force member, drawing condemnation from the United Nations Human Rights Office, who said the executions were the result of unfair trials based on forced confessions. The men became the 3rd and 4th protesters whose executions have been publicly confirmed, following the killings of Majidreza Ranavad and Mohsen Sheikha in December. Press freedom is restricted in Iran. Much of what is known about the situation comes from information shared on social media by protesters who managed to evade the state's attempts to block them from uploading evidence online. Media outlets have been monitoring the footage since the protests began in September. Less footage has been emerging, and the levels of blurring and audio distortion used to add faces and voices appears to be becoming more thorough over the last 2 months. This makes it harder to verify and report what is happening within the country's borders. An expert said that protesters are increasingly leaving their phones at home because people are being attacked for filming and harassed if they are found with footage from protests when they are arrested. In other news, the United Kingdom attempted its first orbital space launch from United Kingdom soil on Monday evening, making it the privately owned Virgin Orbit's first international launch. However, it failed when a reported anomaly early Tuesday prevented the rocket from reaching orbit. The repurposed Virgin Atlantic Boeing 747 aircraft named Cosmic Girl took off from Cornwall in southwestern England at around 10:15 p.m. local time and released the rocket around an hour into flight over the Atlantic Ocean toward the south of Ireland. However, Virgin Orbit said it appeared to have an anomaly in a satellite launch, saying it had prevented the rockets from reaching orbit. The rocket was carrying 9 small satellites and was dubbed "Start Me Up," as in the Rolling Stones song. A crowd of around 2,000 people attended takeoff in Cornwall. The 9 satellites the rocket was set to bring into orbit had to be used for both civil and defense purposes. The commercial satellite launch, described by Virgin Orbit as history-making, was not only the first line in the United Kingdom, but in the whole of Western Europe, according to the UK Space Agency. Though the UK has produced satellites in the past, they were sent to spaceports abroad to be launched into space. Previously, in 2022 and 2021, Virgin Orbit launched 4 similar missions from California after some failed attempts. And that's it on the news. To keep up with all news Nigeria, kindly follow us on all social media platforms displayed on the screen. We'll be back with more news updates tomorrow. Until then, stay tuned. I am Okoyemi Olubemi.